Hi, everyone. If you're watching this, then you're probably interested in learning about Project 2. And without further ado, here we go. To get into the weeds of it all, you will be comparing, contrasting, and analyzing two artifacts from your field. One being a text-based artifact, and the second one being a non-text-based artifact. Now, I know some of you may be wondering, Miss Crawford, what do you mean by a text-based and non-text-based artifact? Simply put, a text-based artifact is an artifact whose primary form of communication is through writing. Examples include a scholarly article, a book chapter, a professional publication, a newspaper, and much more. As for a non-text-based artifact, a non-text-based artifact is an artifact whose primary form of communication is something other than written text. Examples include an image, a video, podcast, music, and also much more. At the same time, you want to make sure that you're keeping rhetoric in focus. Your aim in this paper is to describe how each genre attempts to accomplish its respective purposes. Some of you all might also be wondering, what is an artifact? When we think about artifacts, we most likely think about dinosaur bones or relics that are billions and billions of years old, locked away in a museum. But for the purpose of this class, an artifact is simply any creative medium. Here we have an example of two contrasting artifacts. And for this, you have to imagine that the voice speaking to you right now is not the voice of Ms. Crawford, your instructor. It is the voice of Samantha, who is also in ENC 2135, whose discourse community is focused on English and has a particular fascination with Disney's commodification of folklore. To the left, she has her text-based artifact that is titled, Take a Frown, Turn It Upside Down, Splash Mountain, Walt Disney World, and the cultural de-racification of Disney's Song of the South. This is a text-based artifact because it is an article primarily composed of text. To the right, we have a YouTube video. The title of this video is called Defunct Land, The History of the Terrifying Splash Mountain Ride, which also is based on Song of the South. This is a non-text-based artifact because, you guessed it, it's not primarily based on text, rather, its form of communication is also through visuals. Now, here are several things to consider while you are composing your paper. The first thing that you're going to want to make sure of is whether or not these artifacts are contrasting in terms of style. And by that, I mean is one text-based and the other one non-text-based. You don't want to run into a scenario where you've done all this hard work in rhetorically analyzing your artifacts just to realize that they fit into the exact same category. If you are unsure at any point as to whether or not your artifacts fit into different categories, feel free to email me, show up to my office hours, or stick around after class. The second thing that you want to consider are the rhetorical strategies that you see within each artifact. Some examples include genre conventions, exigence, and the author of the particular piece. And with that, I would like to remind you all that our glossary of rhetorical terms is available on the modules tab of our Canvas page. The third thing that you're going to want to keep in mind are the commonalities between the two artifacts, if any. This could include similar rhetorical appeals such as ethos, tone, and context. Along with this, you might want to consider how these artifacts differ from each other. Obviously, one major difference is one is text-based and the other one is non-text-based. Beyond this, you should look into other possible points of difference, such as audience, constraints, and purpose. Finally, you are going to want to decide whether or not your chosen artifacts are effective in achieving their purpose. An example of this occurs in the image on your left of Darth Vader and Father of the Year. Now let's imagine that there is a galaxy-wide search to find the Father of the Year for 2022. Darth Vader and the Empire respond to this search by putting on an elaborate campaign complete with t-shirts that state Father of the Year with a gold ribbon attached to Vader also stating #1 Dad. While the tone of the shirt is extremely informal, relaxed, and welcoming, it might make audience think that maybe Darth Vader really is a relaxed person after all. The author in this case, Vader's ethical appeal, as a mass murderer who has attempted to kill his children several times, might also work against him in this scenario. Emphasis on the might. In terms of formatting, you are going to want to use Times New Roman, size 12 font, double-spaced. Along with this, you all should have a works cited page for your artifacts and any other references in your paper. The word count is 1,500 words. The next thing that we're going to want to take a look at are the due dates. On February 25th, your first draft is due. The week of February 28th is our conference week. Because this is, in fact, an online class, our conferences will also be held during our regular class time on Zoom. I want to remind you all that conferences count towards attendance and your participation grade. That is to say, conferences are not optional. And I cannot wait to see all of your smiling faces the week of the 28th. On March 9th, your second drafts are due, and on March 13th, your final draft is due. Now, I know that some of you all might be experiencing the beginning symptoms of burnout. I completely understand that spring break is around the corner. This is just to remind you that this project is also worth 20% of your overall grade. In our subsequent classes, we'll be going over specific examples of Project 2, as well as a specific rubric that will detail what I'm grading you on and what you need to do to receive a good grade. If you have any questions between now and then, please don't hesitate to email me, show up to my office hours, or any other mode of communication that is deemed appropriate. And with that being said, have a nice rest of your day.